McCollum Lake State Forest Campground is located in Michigan's Lower Peninsula, north of M72 between Fairview and Coran. The campground contains 20 campsites and sits along the west side of McCollum Lake. While this is a state forest campground and it's under the DNR website, this campground is actually managed by the local township, and therefore there's very little information on the DNR website for it. One nice part about it being a township-ran campground is that it's only $15 a night to stay here, where state-ran campgrounds are typically $20 or more. The campground still has your typical registration station with the similar information that you would expect, except it seems to be a little outdated as they still have their social distancing poster up here from several years ago. There is a nice little boat launch here at McCollum Lake, and right at the boat launch is an outhouse, and you know me and outhouses, I have to go up and check them out. So that's what we're going to do first before I head into the campground. I do not like that the outhouse only locks from the inside and has no way to latch shut, but the outhouse is fairly well kept and it doesn't look like it's probably used very often. There is a boater out here fishing right now, and I'm going to walk out and take a quick look over the water. You can see in the background, it's actually a really awesome sky. It's a beautiful day out. It's probably in the mid to upper 70s right now, and it's just a nice, still, quiet day to be out on the lake. The lake itself is 174 square acres, and its max depth, it looks like, is about 60 feet deep. Anglers can expect to catch bluegill, largemouth bass, northern pike, and even walleye if they're out here on the lake. Look at that beautiful sky. You couldn't ask for anything more picturesque than the day that I have right here. Those beautiful slow-moving clouds, and look at how blue it is. Anyways, heading back into the campground, the real reason that we're here, there are two parts to this campground. The first part is more city park-like. You first pull in, and I thought this was a small recreation area, but in fact, this is the campground, and it would be a great setup for a group of Boy Scouts or a large group of people coming that need multiple campsites because you can see everybody camping around you. You're not enclosed or secluded at all. There's a few small trees for shade, but you're mostly just in one big park-like setting as you wrap around the campground here. You can see that each campsite has fire rings, it has picnic tables. There's not a whole lot here that divides one site from the other. There's a few poles and barricades up to help prevent people from just driving all over through the grass. Otherwise, it's kind of just a big open lot. I don't dislike this kind of camping at all, especially for the fact that if I stay the night here, I'm going to be the only person in this campground. But I actually really like the other side of the campground later, so I'm going to head over that way once I do this quick loop. Since there's nobody here, I might as well do the whole loop and check out every one of the campsites so you can see what you're getting into. This first part of the campground, the sites do butt right up to the road, and there's some heavy construction going on up there. The road is down to one lane, and it was barely even that before you have a really sharp drop-off where they're digging a great big part of the road up. So keep that in mind, that part of the loop is very near the road, and then the other part of the loop that I'm approaching butts up to private property. There is a sign and there's a little fence up, and you can definitely see where the private property is, so just be respectful of that. You can see where I'm parked at, and it's right across from the actual campground outhouses. There's two of them here on this part of the campground, so we'll check them out. These look a little older, and there is one for men and one for women. So we're going to swing this open real quick since there's no one here. Nice and clean, well maintained. It even has a little hook for hanging up your jacket or your hat. And now we're checking out the other part of the campground, and these are the campsites that are designated just for walking in. These are more backpacker or tent campsites, a little more secluded. You could very well be the only one up here if you're packing in a tent and you don't have a trailer or a camper. These are up on a little bit of a hill with a little bit more of a view of the lake. The other sites, you really don't have a good view of the lake. And while these do have a view, they don't have good access. You'd have to go back down to the road and probably walk to the boat launch if you're looking for access to the lake. You can see though somebody does take the time to really maintain this. It's well mowed and well kept up, even though there's nobody here. The very last of these walk-in sites is quite a little ways away. You got a couple picnic tables and the fire ring still up here, and a little plaque on that rock. That little plaque is a monument to the people who helped create this area. Just a little farther down the road, you have a small picnic area. This is a hike-in only. There's only parking for maybe 2 vehicles at the absolute most right here. But as you walk down to the picnic area, you do have some picnic tables. I wouldn't really call it a sandy beach, but you do have a not so shabby area that you could get into the water or your kids can play. It's a little overgrown with grass right at the water's edge, but you can get out there in the water quite a ways and still be on sand. Heading back into the final part of the campground, you can see this is a little more campgroundy here. Here is where the hand pump is at for water. There's only one hand pump. There's not one on both loops, just this loop. Let's test it out. Get my finger out of the way. And clearly we have water, and the hand pump for the water does work just fine. Took a few more pumps than I thought it might, but there you go. Continuing around the campground, you have your final sites. These are also a little more elevated up away from the water. I'm just going to make a quick loop around here and we'll check out each one of these sites because, again, there's nobody here, so there's no reason not to check out the sites. At least up here you have a little bit more shade, you have larger tree growth, you're just not quite so exposed. Overall, I really like this campground. I wish I could come back and bring my boat with me and do some nice walleye fishing.